Good afternoon, everybody. Today we're going to talk about Personal Property Security Register. My name's Kate Smith and I will be assisting you through the PPSA. This webinar has been designed for clients and associates of Cootes Redington involved in all prime production activities. Cootes Redington specialises in assistance to prime production businesses from Mount Isa in the west and Mullaney in the south. The directors of Cootes Redington and managers Amanda, Jeff, Andrew and myself are available to assist your business in dealing with the PPSA, the Personal Property Security Act. Firstly, let's look at the disclaimer. This webinar is not personal advice but general in nature, and you should seek specific legal advice for your business. This material is not intended to constitute personal advice and must not be relied upon as such. The rules associated with the Personal Property Security Act are complex and subject to change and will differ depending on your personal circumstances. Before making a decision based on this material, you should consider the appropriateness of this material, having regard to your business, and consider obtaining independent advice from your accountant and legal advisor. Let's get started. This webinar is recorded in association with other seminar presentations and additional information you can refer to at our website. Today we will look at what are the roles of the accountant and the lawyer, what is PPSA, what is personal property, risks, examples, what do I do now, and hopefully you can send us some questions. It is important to note the need for you to involve your solicitors in any PPSA process. Please consult an experienced commercial lawyer. Any questions arising from today can be emailed to us for Mark Budd of B&G Law to assist with, or contact your own solicitor. Cootes Redington's role is to ensure you are aware of the risks and assist you to put in place systems and processes to effectively and efficiently work through the legislation. So what is the PPSA? The Personal Property Security Act established a national system governing the use of personal property as security. This legislation removed over 70 state-based registers to become one online register that operates as a notice board of security interests. If you have ever purchased a second-hand car privately, you would have checked the register to ensure there was no security over the asset and you can obtain clear title. This is part of the PPSR. But why are we talking about personal property? This is an unfortunate name, as we are really considering your business assets. Personal property, according to the PPSA legislation, is any property other than land and fixtures that are affixed to land and includes crops, livestock, breeding stock, motor vehicles, debtors, receivables, intellectual property, licenses, interbusiness loans, and plant hire equipment. When is your property at risk? The biggest change that the PPSA has introduced is that legal title is no longer king. The PPSR becomes relevant in the event of a corporate insolvency of your client or your business at which your assets are located. A business that may technically still be the owner of an asset may end up simply being an unsecured creditor of the business customer. Since the introduction of the PPSR in Australia, hundreds of millions of dollars have been lost by businesses to liquidators. It has affected very large multinationals to small business. A leasing company lost a reported $23 million in the administration of one deal due to administration error. General Electric lost a reported $50 million in a court case which argued the concepts of a PPS lease. A New Zealand case, on which our legislation is based, a $2 million stallion was taken and sold by the liquidators. Does your business have any of these? trading stock, livestock, farming equipment, motor vehicles, trailers. Where were all these items last night, last week, last month? The PPSA could affect you if you have some of your assets stored someone else's property and a liquidator is appointed to them. The introduction of this Act has brought in some significant commercial law changes. They generally affect most people operating a business across Australia. This legislation is not state-specific, and the old saying, possession is 9/10 of the law, is nearly true. Just as the bank may have a stock mortgage over your cattle to protect their interests, you need to protect your interest in the livestock or equipment when they leave your property. Even the bank's mortgage may not protect the bank's interests if the cattle are sent to a feedlot and a liquidator is appointed. That sounds a bit scary, and we're all thinking we need to do this now. But in the real world, if you propose to register on the PPSA, the feedlot, the yards, they may not want to take your cattle anymore, and you probably aren't big enough to deal with those guys. So we have to cop it. Take a chance. Even if the cattle are going next door, this is an even playing field, and the personal property security registration is a must. Do your customers owe your money? What are your terms of trade? Do you have any? When did you last review the paperwork? You could use the PPSA to ensure that you are more likely to recover monies owed to you from customers who may become insolvent. However, your terms of trade will require a review from a commercial lawyer. Who is a secured party? A secured party is someone who has registered an interest on the Personal Property Security Register. This means your asset is secured for you. There is a relatively minor charge to register an interest, $6.80 for 7 years. This is cheap insurance, but you will need a good process and some paperwork behind you. Let's look at an example. You're working next door. If you leave your truck or your harvester there to complete the job next week, next month, and an unfortunate event occurs, the liquidator arrives next door. This asset is not yours under the PPSA. A liquidator can claim this asset to repay your neighbour's debts. What about agistment? Are you renting commercial premises or agisting your cattle? Check with your legal advisor if you have terms of trade agreements with the landlord. Where your livestock are on agistment at sale yards, feedlots, and register a security interest relative to your property, stock that are on those premises. On the PPSR notice board, you can register a notice, do a search, or most importantly, remove the registration that is no longer required. The best possible priority and protection will be gained by registration immediately when agreements are signed, and particularly before giving possession of your goods. Generally, a security interest granted by a company is required to be registered within 20 business days. If the registration is later than that, you may not be effective for 6 months and you'll be treated as an unsecured creditor. An unregistered security interest is still a valid interest under the PPSR, although it risks losing priority. Registration can be seen as a commercial decision to mitigate this risk. The individual circumstances of each business will be determined whether it is commercially viable to register. Registration may be an over-precaution where the grantor is financially strong or the value of the property is low. What exactly does this mean for my business? Well, PPSR can be extremely unfair for owners of assets who do not register. Existing clauses prior to 2012 may not be sufficient. Printing the terms of a contract on the back of invoices won't cover you. Why now? Yes, it has been around for a few years, and accountants have generally treated the PPSA as though it's a legal matter. But generally, legal lawyers do not have the same recurring relationship with you as the accountant, and only become involved after an issue arises. Coutts Reddington believe it is very important for a collaborative partnership between yourselves, accountants and lawyers, as the timing of a registration process is important. What can you do? Well, do something now. The PPSA can be a complex, knotty subject that leads many businesses to widespread confusion. Contact us to review the risks and suggest improvements to processes and procedures. What we suggest is an initial due diligence of your business so we can understand your business, your needs, what is the impact of the PPSA on your business, work with you to identify the assets that should be registered, prepare a system to be PPSA compliant, and liaise with your legal advisor in relation to the documentation required. And then subsequently, probably annually, review your systems are being maintained, that the assets are being registered. Why do you need a solicitor? The background paperwork to protect your assets on the Personal Property Security Register is a legal matter. Your solicitor must attend to the drafting of the following appropriate documentation: retention of trade, terms of trade. Have a discussion with your solicitor or B&G Law. The PPSA is real and here to stay. You may risk your assets if you are not properly registered in the event of a failure of a third party. As a bare minimum, you should be familiar of how this legislation works. Conduct a review of your assets, your systems and procedures, and make a practical, informed decision on risk versus commerciality on each job, each client you do business with, and seek professional help. Please send us some questions if you have any, and we would love to deal with them. Thank you.